Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Welcome to Moore Law. Today we are talking about the legal system from the public defender's perspective, the kinds of cases they handle, how things work between the time a person is arrested and when they go to trial, how you get a public defender. Joining us and taking your questions today is Hamilton County Public Defender Raymond T. Fowler. Joining me today, as always, Don Moore. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Deb?
Good. I heard you had a really nice weekend.
Well, actually I did, and weekend before last I got to go to a very special birthday party, and I wanted to say hello to Louis Hahn and Carolyn Mack and thank Louis for inviting me out to his party. Louis has been a client for a long time, and it's been a privilege to represent him, and happy 40th to Louis. 40?
He doesn't look 40.
Yeah, well, he's a young 40.
I'm an old 40, I guess. Well, I was 40 a long time ago, wasn't I?
We don't have to talk about
Thank
that.
you.
So, hey, we have an extra special guest today. Ray Fowler, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Let me say a few words about Ray. Ray is familiar with both sides of the criminal law bench. One, he was a prosecutor for a good long while, and he's been a defense lawyer, criminal defense lawyer for a long time. And in addition, besides practicing for over 30 years, he was president of the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. And he's a local boy. He graduated from X University, and he graduated from UC Law School. He is now the head of the Public Defender's Office as of last July or August, supervising over 127 employees and a budget of $14 million.
All right then.
Thank you very much.
That's quite a resume.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I was a prosecutor not for a good long time ago, from 78 to 82.
All right.
And I've done criminal defense work since then.
So that's super. That's super.
Well,
Ray,
thanks for
thanks a
being
lot
here.
for coming. I know we've got a lot of good questions for you.
Well, good.
I have a question right off the bat.
Sure.
We talked about this before. What does a public defender's office do? Why do we have one?
Well, we represent people who are indigent, who are unable to afford counsel in criminal cases, and also we have a guardian division when children are being taken from their parents. Our office has 5 divisions. We have an appellate division, we have a felony trial division, a misdemeanor division, a juvenile division, and then our guardian division. So we represent people throughout the court system.
And my understanding also that there are attorneys who don't actually work full-time for the public defender's office, but take conflicts cases and things like that you're also responsible for ultimately. Is that right?
Well, they are private attorneys who take appointed cases from the court, and they're funded through our office. They handle any type of conflict, but they also handle cases. There are so many cases in Hamilton County where people are indigent, unable to afford their own attorney, that the court will appoint them, and they're paid through our office, yes.
Well, super. I could just have a chat with you for the next half hour really easily, but I think there's some people waiting.
I think we have some
to
callers
talk.
there. Why don't
Yeah,
we talk to them too?
All right.
All right, let's go first to Shauna in Delhi. Shauna, as I understand it, you have a question about your attorney not doing his job or her job.
Yes. I was just wondering, what is the responsibility of the Bar Association to the public against the lawyer?
Well, if you file a grievance or a complaint with the Bar Association will look into it and possibly impose discipline. Sometimes they say a complaint is not well founded. Just because somebody's not happy with the outcome of a case doesn't mean the lawyer did something wrong, but it's also possible that a lawyer did do something wrong. The Bar Association investigates, and the Ohio Supreme Court regularly imposes discipline on lawyers who fail to live up to the appropriate standards of conduct.
That's one of the things a lot of people don't know is that the Bar Association, both the Cincinnati Bar Association and the Ohio Supreme Court, as Ray said a minute ago, they're pretty avid about pursuing lawyers who are somehow doing something unethical or that casts a poor light on the profession. But as Ray accurately put it, just because you're not happy with the result doesn't mean they necessarily did anything wrong.
Okay. All right, let's go now to Jack in Hamilton. Jack, good morning.
Good morning.
Please go right ahead with your question.
Okay, I was wondering about the new felony law where they take it off your record and if maybe qualified. And, is this something I could do myself?
Well, it's not a new law in the sense that expungements have been available for over 30 years, but the law changed recently. Pretty much it was you could expunge one conviction one time in your life, and there were certain crimes you could never expunge. For example, DUI or OVI, as it's called now, that's never been an expungible offense. If a victim is under 18, that can't be expunged. Most sex offenses can't be expunged. But it was pretty much a once in a lifetime for a conviction. Now, the legislature used to allow you to seal any number of cases if you were acquitted. But it was basically one conviction, one time. Now, last year that changed. You could expunge 2 misdemeanors or 1 felony, but it depends on the nature of the charge. It just depends on the nature of your charge. Yes, you can do it yourself, but I would suggest you might want to talk to an attorney to get some help because you want it done right, and it's something that's important to you.
Okay. Don, you wanted to add to that, I think?
Well, on that expungement business, one of the things that's a big deal is they make sure that all the people, all the various agencies are aware and are properly served. Because if they're not, and you've got some information out there about a charge, you've kind of defeated your purpose, haven't you?
Correct. But there's also problems with expungements. The government agencies seal the records and can't release that information after a case has been expunged. But if a private database had that information, that's not expunged from there. Or if your case was somewhat infamous and you made the newspaper, you can't seal up the newspaper archives. It's out there forever that way.
All right, we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back talking about the law from the public defender's perspective. Please give us a call, 513-421-4691. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio Super Lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
All right, well, let's head to More Law Connection now, where Dan Moore's answering viewer emails. Good morning.
Morning, Deb. Today our first question is from Nico. He wants to know, a co-worker started rumors about me which led to my being fired. Can I sue this person for defamation? What is the process? Well, defamation claims are traditionally very difficult to pursue because the average person walking around that's going to be on your jury thinks, hey, you should be able to put up with what people say about you. However, most people think that there's a line you can't cross, and if you do cross that line, you should be held responsible. Legally, the standard that really comes into play here is whether the person said something that was untrue. If the person said something that was false, then you potentially have a claim. If the person said something that was true, even if it's nasty, if it's true, you have no claim. The truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim. But the other thing you have to consider when this particular situation is on the page here to pursue, you're saying, okay, how do I prove that what this person said caused me to lose my job? Because if you can't prove that, you don't have a claim. You've got to go to your employer and somehow gather evidence that what this person said about you caused you to get fired. If you can't prove that, you don't have a claim. Deb?
All right, thanks a lot, Dan. And we are back with our guest, Ray Fowler from the Hamilton County Public Defender's Office. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's head back to the phones. Let's go to Rod in Laughlin. Rod, you had a question about Miranda rights.
Yes. Several years ago, I was arrested, but the police department where it happened did not read me my rights at the time. I was never read my rights. Would that make a difference in the arrest and also the conviction in the case?
Well, it wouldn't make a difference in the arrest or the conviction unless the police took what's called an inculpatory statement from you. If you incriminate yourself in your statement, then you should have been advised of your Miranda rights before you made a statement to the police. That's for what's called custodial interrogation. So if the police just talk to you on the street and asking general questions, they don't have to advise you of any rights. Only when they've placed you in custody are you entitled to that Miranda rights.
You know, one of the questions we were talking about before is, you know, when is it okay for a police officer to lie? Who's to say that they don't say, well, absolutely, we read you your Miranda rights?
Well, the police have to show, if they want to use an inculpatory statement, they have to show what's called a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights. They normally have a form they would have you sign. And you can dispute it and say, they never read that to me, or that's not my signature. The police would then present that in court if they want to use your statement that you made. You could be convicted without any statements from yourself. Then Miranda's not an issue.
So as she just alluded to a moment ago, when is it okay for police to lie?
Well, they cannot lie in a courtroom. They're under oath. They're obligated to tell the truth, but the law allows them to be deceptive in terms of investigating crimes. I remember I've seen in the past, they'll set up stings that they're buying stolen property. Well, it's the police, and people bring in all kinds of stolen property, and they're recording everything. And then they arrest a bunch of people later. They're allowed to do that.
And they're lying to people about that they're basically they're buying stolen stuff and they're going to resell it. And basically, they're posing as a fence, and that's okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right. The law allows that.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Let's head back to the phones. Let's see. Mary in Fairfield. Good morning. Go ahead, Mary.
Yes, my husband died in October at his work. He fell off a 15-foot ladder going to the roof. His toxicology came back negative, accidental head injury. I got the OSHA report. There was no room on the ladder for his feet. It was too close to the wall. No grate over the hole to keep him from stepping back through the hole. And no fall protection on the ladder. And I also have a 2005 OSHA report that says they were not going to be cited, but they were told to comb the area for safety for guys working on the roof. I went to an attorney. I've been to her once. She said, I have no case because I don't have a tort. It's almost like she said they got to come out and point blank shoot him or throw him off the ladder.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. Is there any information or advice you would give to Mary?
Well, I think I can help Mary out a little bit. There's a couple things. Number one, you've got workers' comp, and I'm sure you already know about that. Number two, there's a possible violation of a specific safety requirement. That's called a VSSR claim. A good workers' compensation or experienced workers' compensation lawyer can give you guidance on that. That is where they break a rule, specific rule, and that breaking that rule caused the harm, and that can up the value of the case for workers' comp. It's actually a separate claim. Lastly, employer intentional tort, they've almost made it illegal, and what you said a minute ago is almost true. In order to get anything above the workers' comp, they actually have to go out and almost hurt the person on purpose. But it's not totally out of the question, almost out of the question. So best of luck, Mary. I am sorry for your trouble.
Okay. Let's go back to Dan with another email question. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay. We've got another question here about a car accident. I was in a car accident and the other person offered me a personal check to avoid going through his insurance. Is that a good idea? Well, it depends on what the situation is. If it's just for property damage, in other words, if it's just for your car, the damage to your car, then I'd take the check. I would not take a personal check. I would make sure that it's a certified check. I would make sure it's cash, make sure it's guaranteed in some way. But if you have any personal injury, if you have any thought that you might have an injury as a result of the crash, you don't want to take any money from this person personally, because it's very easy in a personal injury claim for your medical bills to exceed what a person walking around on the street can afford to pay. So you're going to need their insurance, and what you don't want to do is to delay turning the claim into the insurance for the other person so that the insurance company can claim that, hey, they waited too long, we're not going to cover it. So moral of the story is you normally don't want to take money directly from somebody without letting their insurance know, but if you want to do them a favor and you only have property damage, go for it. If you've got a question, go to fox19.com website. Click on the More Law button, fill out the Send Us Your Questions form, and click Submit. As always, we're going to do our best to answer all the questions that you submit. Deb, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Dan. And we will take a break right now, and we'll come back talking about the legal system from the public defender's perspective. Give us a call, 513-421-4691.